What it do? Bad Sound Crew. Hey man, listen, today I'm here to talk about what Dana White is doing with UFC 301. Now, obviously, UFC 300, we got the main event of Alex Pereira Shum versus Jamal Hill. And if you look at UFC 300, I mean, Alex Pereira, good. Charles Oliveira, Biga do Branco, biggest champion. Literally me on the card. That's good to see, guys. Thanks for the support, man. I hope I beat Arman Sarukian. You know, Davis and Figueiredo's on the card. That's a good fight. Jessica Andrade, Marina Rodriguez. If you notice a pattern, all of these fighters are Brazilian stars in the UFC. And 1 month later, the UFC has UFC 301 in Rio. This pay-per-view has no big names to go on it. So today I've decided to build a card that I think would be worthy of being on pay-per-view, but not too good for those fucking Brazilian fans that booed Glover Teixeira and abandoned him in his retirement. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into this. All right, dude, I've got a main card and then I've got a couple of prelims that I want to do. Opening up the main card, I think you rebook Marcos Rogerio de Lima versus Justin Tafa. Not me, by the way, guys. Makes sense. There's an added bit of intrigue to it because we got to see Junior Tafa versus Rogerio de Lima on pay-per-view. People know the storyline now. People are bigger fans of the Tafa brothers for how that whole thing went down with the pullout and then the re-entry by Junior Tafa. And I think this is a very good matchup. There's a ranking on the line. Obviously, de Lima is Brazilian as well. All in all, I mean, this is a great way to open up the pay-per-view card. Knowing the actual UFC, this will be the fucking co-main event of this pay-per-view, but let a man dream, all right, dude? This is going to be my main card opener. Let's move on to the second fight on the card, and I went through the rankings, and I thought, who's a Chad Brazilian that will put on a banger of a fight on this card? And I had to get two of the most, downright autistic men in the UFC. I'm ready to fight Edson Barboza. It'd be a good fight. Dude, Arnold Allen versus Edson Barboza would be an absolute fucking banger in the featherweight division. Makes a lot of sense for where Arnold Allen is at in his ranking. Obviously needs to fight down a little bit after losing 2 in a row. Obviously 2 very close fights, 2 very high level opponents in Movsar Evlov and Max Holloway. But I think Edson Barboza is a decent step down in competition. That's still an exciting matchup, still an intriguing kind of matchup. And let's be real, dude. Arnold Allen probably wins this, and the Brazilian fans probably lose their fucking mind over Edson Barboza getting chinned. So, as much as I hate to sacrifice my boy Edson, I know this will be an entertaining fight regardless of what happens, and I do think there is a pretty high likelihood we get to piss off these fans that fucking ruined UFC 283. So, with that in mind, second fight on the card, I want to see Arnold Allen versus Edson Barboza. Banger matchup, if I do say so myself. All right, dude. Now, featured fight on the card. All right, boys, I'm going to jump straight into this, man. I want to see Dan Hooker versus Money Moicano. Money Man, of course, probably the third best YouTuber on the platform right now. Obviously, behind myself, of course. And MMA Joey's probably pound for pound number 1. But yeah, dude, all jokes aside, Renato Moicano, big name, Brazilian guy with a lot of fan base behind him, a lot of popularity at the moment, especially with his YouTube channel and the Guru call out, of course. And Dan Hooker, top 10 opponent, makes sense for him. Decently big name, people like Dan Hooker. And dude, this matchup would be fucking sick, dude. If all else fails, this is like a 5-round co-main event to this pay-per-view. I wouldn't really be mad at it because I know it'd be a really good fight. I feel like Dan Hooker's better at mixing and wrestling now. Obviously against Moicano, that's a bit of a, risky kind of game to play. I think on the feet, he would use his leg kicks really well, his front kicks really well. Moicano's got decent boxing as well. All in all, I think this would be a very entertaining, high-level matchup. Plus, you have Justin Tafa on the card as well, so you've got Hooker and Tafa there together. You can kind of build that storyline. And again, winnable matchup for both of these guys. So it's not like we're giving the Brazilians all a bunch of easy wins or we're getting all the Brazilians beat in front of the fans, which sometimes you kind of see that on these cards. Like I feel like the first Brazil pay-per-view, all the Brazilians fucking lost. And then the last pay-per-view, the last fight night card, all the Brazilians won. So I feel like these are more competitive matchups. Decently big names as well to fill out a pay-per-view main card. I mean, this is meant to be a fucking pay-per-view. And they don't have Alex Pereira. They don't have Charles Oliveira. They don't have fucking anybody. So I'm doing my best here. Featured fight. I reckon Dan Hooker, Renato Moicano is pay-per-view worthy. This could probably happen at 301, dude. let's move on. I've got 2 fights left on the main card. Then I'll talk very quickly about some prelims that I want to see. When I was looking at the co-main event, like I said, all the big Brazilian names are kind of booked up, right? And I had to think long and hard, who do I actually trust to show up on a pay-per-view to carry some sales, you know, to carry some intrigue, to carry the press conference? There is one man to call, and that is Paulo Costa, boys. And I think this is a banger matchup, if I do say so myself. Dude, Paulo Costa, Anthony Hernandez. Inject this into my fucking veins, dude. Inject this into my veins, bro. Dude, how sick would this matchup be? At first, I was going to do Costa versus, like, Delidze or a Mavov, but then I was like, nah, those guys fight like... They just fight like shit, dude. I'm sorry, but they fight like shit, dude. I'm not going to reward them by giving them a chance against Chad Paulo Costa. Just fuck it, dude. Anthony Hernandez versus Paulo Costa. 2 absolute giga chads just walking each other down, sticking their tongue out, smiling, like beating the fuck out of each other. I think the wrestling scrambles would be insane as well because Paulo Costa can really wrestle. Anthony Hernandez would try and melt him with the cardio. He's got good striking. He likes to pressure hard with the head kicks. I think this would be a fucking war of a fight, dude. I really think that this alone would carry the pay-per-view and be kind of the people's main event, in my opinion. And it makes sense too, because Anthony Hernandez, obviously future middleweight champion. I've got this screenshot here on the screen from 2027, but all jokes aside, dude, he looked really good against Roman Kopylov. And you know for a fact, chat, even if you guys don't fuck with Hernandez and you're like a copy lover, bro, be real. Be real, Kopylov sexuals, bro. Be real. If Kopylov beat Hernandez, he would be fighting a top 5 opponent right now. If Alaskarov beat Hernandez, he would be fighting a top 5 opponent right now. Be fucking for real, dude. So I'm going to give Hernandez that shot against a top 10 opponent. I think Paulo Costa, biggest Brazilian name you can get on this card, really. And him versus Hernandez is a very, very exciting matchup that hardcores would be excited for. I think casuals would be keen to see Paulo Costa as well on this card in a big spot. And for that reason, I want the co-main event to be Paulo Costa versus Anthony Hernandez. Let's move on to the main event. And obviously, there's slim pickings in these main events, dude. All right, man. Alex Pereira is saying he wants to turn around from 300 to 301. Brother, I know you guys got mad at me, but I don't think he beats Jamahal Hill. I don't think he beats Jamahal Hill, dude. And even if he beats Jamahal Hill, I think it's going to be a pretty competitive matchup. I think he will get tagged up a little bit. And I think turning around on 21 days notice after a fight with Jamahal Hill is a recipe for getting chinned in Brazil in front of the crowd. And for that reason, I've decided to not make Alex Pereira the main event. If he can turn around and fight Magomed Ankalaev, that'd be awesome. But if not, fuck it. Victim weight main event. Who gives a fuck? I worked so hard for this. Alejandro Pantoja. Throw him in there. Let him fucking take out Amir Albazi in front of the Brazilians, dude. Amir Albazi ain't winning this shit, but we need a title fight in the main event. And it's either this or it's Nunes versus Pennington 2. I know which one I'd rather see. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like all in all, we've saved this main event by adding Paulo Costa, Anthony Hernandez, Dan Hooker, Renato Moicano, Arnold Allen, Edson Barboza, Rogerio de Lima versus Justin Tafa. All of those fights are exciting matchups that would add to a good pay-per-view. So altogether, I think this is a pretty decent level pay-per-view considering it has a flyweight title fight main eventing. And for that reason, this is my main card for UFC 301. Let me talk very quickly about some prelims I want to see. There has been some fights announced like Paul Craig versus Cal Barajo. That's a good matchup. That'll probably be on the main card knowing the real UFC. I think there's another fight that I wanted to talk about that got added, but I would love to see maybe RoboCop versus Chris Curtis added to the card. But if I had to give you 3 prelims I really, really want to see to stack this card, featured prelim that I'd want to see, Matt Frevola, Elvis Brenner. I don't know where I heard this from. I don't know if this is actually happening. I've heard this matchup get made before. I think this would be a huge addition to UFC 301. I think this would be fight of the night or performance of the night guaranteed. This could headline the prelims for sure. This would be a huge fight in the lightweight division. I think this would be a fight that Dana White would talk about on Instagram and get really red talking about. So for that reason, add this to UFC 301. Put this as the featured prelim, the headlining prelim. And you're starting to build a really, really good fight card in terms of the quality of the fights. Obviously, with the name value, you're never going to get the pay-per-views you would have got if you had pushed back Pereira versus Hill to 301 and Oliveira and Armin Sarukian as the co-main of 301, right? Like, that would have been a bigger card in Brazil. But considering what we've got, I think Elvis Brenner and Matt Frivola is a pretty fucking good addition, dude. Now, another fight that I want to see added to the prelims that I do think would be a very entertaining matchup, even though it's a women's fight. Now, don't click off the video. It's a women's fight, I know, but listen, dude. Come on, man. Come on, dude. Irene Aldana versus Mayra Bueno Silva. That would actually be entertaining. Like, don't fucking lie to yourself, yeah? Stand up for yourself, yeah? I know you don't like WMMA, right? But listen, don't do your fucking head in. This is a good fight, yeah? Be fucking real, dude. This is actually a good matchup. I think Irene Aldana versus Mayra Bueno Silva is probably going to happen next in the bantamweight division. We all know what we want to happen. We want Irene Aldana to win this fight so she can chin Raquel Pennington, get her up out of there, or else I might have to do it, you know what I'm saying? Either Irene Aldana has to do it, or I'm going to have to cut down to 35 and take out Raquel Pennington, because it's getting fucking ridiculous that she's a UFC champion, bro. But all jokes aside, this is a fight I could definitely see being added to a Brazil card, because it didn't get added to the Mexico card. So for that reason, Mayra Bueno Silva, Irene Aldana would be a prelim I'd like to see. There is one fight left that I'd like to see on the prelims. Pretty low level, maybe like an early prelim headliner this could be. I just personally really want to see this matchup, and I'm sure there's somebody else out there that wants to see this as well. Give me Daniel Santos versus Rinya Nakamura right fucking now, dude. Give me Mini Oliveira right now, pause, versus Rinya Nakamura. This would be a banger matchup, because Rinya Nakamura can't just lay on this guy and breathe heavily, bro. If he tries to, why does he have a tattoo of a gay little dog on his chest? I just saw that. What the fuck? Anyways, dude, oh my god. Daniel Santos, if you've seen him fight, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's coming for the finish the entire time, pause. Rinya Nakamura is a wild man on the feet. I think this would be an absolute barn burner added to the Brazil card, especially with some other shooter box guys on the card. But these are all the fights I want to see at UFC 301. I think Pantoja versus what's the dude's name? Albazi would be a decent main event if you stack the card with like Allen versus Barboza, like I said. Maybe Robocop versus Chris Curtis. You know, Costa versus Hernandez. All of these fights, let me know what you think of these matchups down below. Let me know what you think UFC is going to do with 301. And if you enjoyed this video, drop a like. Subscribe to the best matchmaker on YouTube. Go follow me on Instagram at Bedtime MMA for my UFC Mexico picks. I'll see you in the next video, boys. Goodbye.